Welcome to Comic Power. I am your host, Comic Killer 72. This segment today is called Wicked Wednesday. If you didn't know, Wednesday is the new release for new comics that come out every week. These are my recommendations for the best books to pick up on Wednesday. I will also name one book to be the speculation pick of the week. Let's take a look at that graphic you just saw again. This was submitted to me by one of the viewers of this channel named Andy. He wasn't even looking for any credit or anything, but I had to acknowledge him. So thanks again, Andy, for your contribution in helping Comic Power be #1 in its category. So let's get right into it. DC Comics is giving us Batman number 16. This is part 1 of I Am Bane. Anytime Bane comes back, it's always gonna be some good stuff. David Finch is doing the art. I hope he sticks around because I like this art style. On the variant, you have Tim Sale, and Batman is joined by the current and the former Robins. I can't recall if they've all been ever assembled together before, so this is pretty significant for that. On the real, Batman comes out twice a month. Buy it. Next up is Justice League number 14. There are tensions and grievances between the team, so they must iron that out before they can face the new threat. Can't we all just get along? Next up is Harley Quinn number 13. Amanda Conner is writing this and doing the covers, but the interior work is done by John Timms. She was doing the writing and art. The Rebirth books are coming out twice a month, so that workload and the deadlines must be crucial over at DC. If you work for Marvel, you only have to put out 12 books a year. If you're working for DC, you have to do 24 now. They have to be burnt out. There's also a Frank Cho variant shown here. He needs very little dialogue. He's a great storyteller in his art alone. Next up is Superman number 16. This is the finale of the Multiplicity story arc, so now you have to pick it up to figure out why is Superman holding a rabbit. My own little bunny rabbit. I will pet him and name him George. That's an inside joke for Looney Tunes fans. Next up is the Sheriff of Babylon trade paperback volume 2. It's called Pow Pow Pow. Sheriff of Babylon was a 12-issue maxi series written by Tom King, and everything this guy touches is gold. He wrote the Vision maxi series, and he's writing Batman right now. But the Sheriff is the epitome of his talent. It's the story of a Florida cop that becomes a contractor in Iraq in early 2003, just after the fall of Baghdad. The first trade collected issues 1 through 6. This collects issues 7 through 12. I would highly recommend you go out and find Sheriff of Babylon number 1 from November 2015. I got no advance warning about a TV show or a movie, but this is the type of material they make TV shows and movies about. Next up, let's see what Marvel is up to, and that's going to be all new X-Men number 1.mu. This is part of the cash grab on the Monster series, and they're crossing over with the X-Men. That's a cool looking Adam Kubert cover, but this is a novelty. Only get it if you really love the X-Men like that. Next up is all new X-Men number 18. This is the proper title here. It is a tie-in between the Inhumans versus the X-Men. That was a 2016 crossover that should be wrapping up soon, but Marvel likes stretching these things out for more money. They've also made it very confusing since there are 2 Cyclopses. It seems like Marvel isn't happy unless they're confusing casual fans. Next up is Bullseye number 1, and this is an awesome looking David Johnson standard cover. Bullseye comes out of the Daredevil universe, first appearing in Daredevil number 131 in 1976. The character really didn't take off until Frank Miller took over Daredevil. I would consider him Marvel's answers to DC's Deadshot. He's a very interesting character though, so this is worth your time. And since this is a Marvel number 1, you're going to get more variants than you can shake a stick at. They just can't help themselves. Next up is Hawkeye number 3. This is the Kate Bishop version of Hawkeye, and for some reason she's really hated here by the people of Los Angeles. I think they're developing this character to be a Phase 4 replacement in the movies. That's my gut feeling about this, so you should be paying attention to this character. Next up is True Believers Wolverine number 1. This is a reprint of his first appearance in comics, which was Hulk 181 way back in 1974. Let's face it, Wolverine is one of the top 10 most iconic comic book characters ever. And a real copy of Hulk 181 from the 70s is way out the price range of most people. So it's cool to see Marvel reprint it and only charge $1 for it. I just feel sorry for the sucker 10 years from now that's going to think that this is an actual 181 and run down to the comic store all excited and then get deflated to find out it's only worth $5. Wah wah. The importance of this character cannot be understated. You got the Frank Miller version that he did in the miniseries in the early 80s, and you got the Mark Millar Old Man Logan version in 2008. There's just so much you can do with him. Retailers will go heavy on this, but they're still going to sell out. This is just too cool, especially for $1. Next up is the speculation pick of the week. And that's going to be Star Wars Darth Maul number 1. I think this character has one of the best designs in science fiction history. Unfortunately, he was not used as well as he should have been in the prequels and Star Wars. Despite that, he's become a fan favorite anyway. Check out this movie variant. All these books look good. I mean, these are some really awesome looking covers and variants. There's also going to be an action figure variant by John Tyler Christopher, because that's what he does, and he's the best at it. And don't get price gouged, by the way, because the print runs are going to be high on this. Remember my $10 rule. Don't pay more than $10 for a new variant that just came out, because there's more of them out there than you think. They are not as rare as they would have you believe. This is issue 1 of a 5-part miniseries, by the way. Next up is our report on independent comics and small publishers. First up is No Angel #1, which is going to a second print from Black Mass Studios. They're putting out some awesome comics. They've had some shipping delays, which has hurt their reputation, but the actual content is excellent. Next up is Blood Blister #1 from Aftershock Comics. This is the publisher that put out Animosity, which is one of the biggest hits of 2016 by surprise. Aftershock is like Image in that the creative teams actually own the properties and all the characters themselves. I think Aftershock is due for another hit. You just don't know what it's going to be. I would predict it wouldn't be this, because that's a very gross looking cover, by the way. Next up is Kaiju Max #1 from Oni Press. This publisher is putting this out for just $1 to try to get people to try it out. Kaiju Max is a world where monsters are safely tucked away from humans. Our hero has to learn how to survive in this new world when he's ripped away from his family. This is one of those weird stories that Xander Cannon is so good at writing. This is just a $1 reprint, and this comic was nominated for Best New Series at the Eisners. So if you want a monster book, I would recommend skipping Marvel's Monsters Unleashed and picking this up instead, and it's only $1, so you can't lose. Speaking of weird, we have Planet of the Apes Green Lantern #1 from Boom Studios in affiliation with DC Comics. This has got to be one of the strangest crossovers I think I've ever saw, but I have to admit I'm intrigued. Let's take a deeper look at the Planet of the Apes. It was a 1968 movie release starring Charlton Heston. It's about an astronaut team that lands on a planet in the distant future in which the apes have evolved to become the dominant species, and they have made humans their slaves. That's quite a concept, isn't it? The 1968 version looks very campy by today's standards. The Apes property has really struck a chord with our inner consciousness, because 50 years later, we're still talking about it and they're still making films about it. Cornelius with a Green Lantern ring. Now that is so cool. But wait, there's more. They also have this swipe cover shown here, which is a homage to Showcase #22. A key Silver Age book because it's the first appearance of the Hal Jordan version of Green Lantern. So if you're down with the core or you're down with the apes, then pick up this book. It's definitely going to be fun. Next up is Faith #8 from Valiant Comics. I'm still recommending this book because it's funny and it's a much lighter read. Her title was only supposed to be a 4-issue miniseries, but she really struck a chord with people and found her niche. She's a heavy-set woman with superpowers. You just don't see that very often in comics, especially with her own title. She's also a member of the Harbinger Renegades team, and there will be a Harbinger movie, a live-action rendition of Faith. That would be so cool. Seriously, can't wait. Next up is Vampirilla #0 from Dynamite Comics. Just like Red Sonja, another licensed property, they're going to be selling this for 25 cents as a gimmick to get people to buy it. And it will get the retailers to push it because they can qualify for the ratio variants since it's so cheap. There's going to be a 1 in 50 variant, which looks like this. That's a very impressive piece of art, but the real winner is going to be this Jason Scott Campbell sketch variant, which is a 1 in 100 ratio. I think the 1 in 50 actually looks better, but Jason Scott Campbell is such a big name, his stuff is always going to go for more, and there's less copies available. The Vampirilla character made her debut in Vampirilla magazine #1 back in 1969, and she's had a cult following ever since. In short, she's a very sexy, provocative dressing vampire. It's a favorite of cosplayers. Not safe for work sign up, please. Okay, now here's some images of that. Okay, you get the idea. If it wasn't for Darth Maul, this would have been the pick of the week. So go ahead and pick up your favorite cover. Just don't spend too much money. Before we go, let's take a look at what Image is offering. They always have some great stuff. First up is Planetoid Praxis #1. This is part 1 of a 6-part miniseries. This is not a first appearance. It's a sequel to a 2012 miniseries. So don't go buying this out thinking it's going to be the next 7 to eternity. Next up is Paper Girls #11. Some people thought that issue 10 was the final issue, but that was not. It was just the end of that story arc. Paper Girls was the winner of the 2016 Eisner Award for Best New Series, and it's a very fun read. You should be picking it up. Brian K. Vaughan, the same guy that does Saga, he writes this book too. Next up is Image Plus #10. This is just a glorified preview. It costs about $2. It just lets you know what's coming down the pipeline with Image in the future. And part of that future is reviving some of their 1990s characters that they built the company on. Next up is The Walking Dead issue 163. This is the start of a new story arc at the end of the Whisperer War. And they're selling this for 25 cents. So they're getting back at Dynamite Comics with their 25-cent run. There's also a cover B version which shows our protagonist Rick Grimes, and this is selling for above cover pre-sale on eBay, as well as a black and white sketch of that same art. Good luck trying to get these for a quarter. The 25-cent takes on Dynamite Comics, as well as it celebrates Image's 25th anniversary too. Last but not least is Deadly Class #26. This is a fantastic book you're probably not reading. The writer is Rick Remender. He recently tweeted an image of himself working on the screenplay for a TV show, so this will make it to TV, so you might want to pay attention. There's also a variant cover of this, which is a homage cover to Cyberforce in the early days of Image Comics back in 1992. Happy 25th birthday, Image Comics. You've had a great run, and it's only getting better. That's about it for today. Thank you for watching Wicked Wednesday, where I review all the new comic books for a new comic day. Be sure to follow my blog at comicpower.net. On social media, follow me at facebook.com/comicpower.net and comicpower-universe.tumblr.com. And don't forget twitter.com/comicpowersub. I also sell comics on eBay at this link. This is Comic Killer 72 for Comic Power saying bye-bye. And don't forget to share this video, click on subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and tell everyone you know about this channel to help it grow. Thank you for your support.